how we are fighting both inside and outside the courtroom to resist the mass movement that we see afoot, the efforts that we see underway, especially in the South, that are aimed at silencing Black voices and disenfranchising Black voters. So let's just start briefly with a recap on what the Supreme Court did. We want to make sure that everyone understands how truly devastating the Louisiana versus Calais decision was. The Calais decision has essentially gutted the most important provision of the Voting Rights Act, the most important provision following the Supreme Court's first dagger aimed at the Voting Rights Act in the Shelby County decision. This case takes aim at the Calais decision, takes aim at the Section 2 provision, which is the provision that we use to fight things like racially gerrymandered maps that are used to elect people to Congress, to state legislatures, to city councils, and so forth. Let me take a moment just to highlight the powerful dissent that was issued by Justice Kagan, which I think really underscores how truly devastating the decision was. Justice Kagan emphasized in her dissent that the Voting Rights Act is, or now more accurately was, one of the most consequential, efficacious, and amply justified exercises of federal legislative power in our nation's history. It was born of the literal blood of Union soldiers and civil rights marchers. It ushered in awe-inspiring change, bringing this nation closer to fulfilling the ideals of democracy and racial equality. And this point, I think, is especially important. Justice Kagan notes that only Congress can say it is no longer needed, not the members of this court. Justice Kagan, I think, is really shining a light that we see from a court that is out of bounds in terms of the work that they are doing to wither away civil rights laws that have been passed by Congress. This is a court that is making clear their intent and goal and desire to really dismantle all of the civil rights laws, the civil rights architecture that we have in place in our country. Before the ink was dry, we have seen states across the South racing to dismantle majority Black districts. No doubt, this is the most shameful decision issued by the Supreme Court in modern time. But as we have always done, it is our responsibility to beat back the forces of oppression that want to silence us and strip us of the ability to exercise our voices in democracy. So what have we seen? Following the Calais decision, we are seeing the states that were once subject to that Section 5 preclearance provision that I mentioned earlier, AKA the Confederate States, the former Confederate States. They are moving to immediately redraw maps with the top goal of dismantling majority Black districts. Now, some of them have tried to mask their actions as merely partisan, but we know, and the picture makes clear, that this is a war on Black voters and a war on Black political power. And we need to be very clear-eyed about that as we fight back. The practical effect of the court's ruling, again, is not only that it weakens the Voting Rights Act, but it really has unleashed a campaign of mass disenfranchisement across the South. So what are we seeing? Let's go to Florida. In Florida, we saw them move on the very day that the Supreme Court's decision was issued. Within an hour of the Calais decision, Florida lawmakers advanced a new congressional map that disproportionately harms Black and minority voters and weakens coalition districts that previously allowed communities of color to influence elections. Now, Florida's interesting. It has a state constitutional provision that bans gerrymandering, and there have been several suits that have been filed arguing that Florida's map violates the state's anti-gerrymandering provisions. We know that NAACP folks have been on the front lines pushing back along with partners. So stay tuned for more in Florida. Let's go to Tennessee. Tennessee has moved very, very quickly. In Tennessee, Governor Bill Lee called an extraordinary legislative session into play on May 1st. Now, the legislature was out of session, so the proclamation is what allowed the governor to bring lawmakers back to the Capitol this month. The proclamation has to be very specific and clear about why the governor is bringing lawmakers back to the Capitol. And that proclamation said that he was bringing lawmakers back for the purpose of redrawing maps. I'll come back to why that's important in a moment. Tennessee currently has 9 congressional districts, including District 9, which is the state's only majority Black congressional district. District 9 historically served as the political center of Black representation in Tennessee. And the proposed changes to the map took aim at Memphis. Memphis is home to it is the city's largest Black majority population in the entire country. Memphis is the city with the largest majority Black population. It has a Black population of 63%. Now, right at the outset, community mobilization began in earnest. We saw a town hall take place in Memphis to really sound an alarm and make clear that it was important that people immediately begin to organize. That town hall focused on educating people across Tennessee, organizing opposition, and encouraging civic engagement. And that proved incredibly important because people ended up showing up at the Capitol en masse. The NAACP and partners played a really central role in coordinating advocacy efforts and ensuring that there was a bright light shining on the Capitol and what they were doing, and a bright light shining on their efforts to target and silence Black voters. I want to recognize President Sweetlove, who really helped to galvanize people and get them out to the Capitol en masse for a hearing that began on May 5th and was over 48 hours later. It took 48 hours for this legislature to dismantle the state's only majority Black district. Now, it was very important that we get people out to the Capitol. It was really important that we made clear what was happening inside the Capitol, that this was a travesty that was afoot. It was important that despite their efforts to lock out the public, that we worked to get our voices into the legislative record. And so in Tennessee, we had NAACP Political Action Chair Sekou Franklin serve as one of 3 witnesses allowed on the House side. And that testimony was very clear. It provided an overview of the history of discrimination, the fact that Tennessee is the birthplace of the Ku Klux Klan, and kind of walked through other legislative actions that the Assembly had taken that were harmful to Black voters. This map was not being redrawn in a silo. There was a context here that showed that the legislature had a recent track record of taking aim at the Black community and Black voters. Nonetheless, Governor Bill signed the bill into law, but he did so over the very loud objections of Black caucus members who I thought were tremendous voices of courage during the legislative process. And so, making sure that our Black caucus members are supported in this dark moment is incredibly important. I want to recognize and acknowledge all of the Black caucus members who really use their bully pulpit to put their colleagues on blast for singling out and dismantling the district that is home to a community where Dr. Martin Luther King was assassinated, a community that has dealt with discrimination and oppression, a community that faces stark socioeconomic disparities, a community that wrestles with issues like police misconduct, as we saw from the as we have seen throughout recent time. So just all of the ways in which the community came together, shaped the legislative record, shined a light on the actions of officials was incredibly important. Why was that important? On the day that the bill was signed into law, we filed suit. We filed suit in state court arguing that the legislative session was illegitimate and unlawful. In particular, we argued and talked about some of the things that the legislature did that went above and beyond that proclamation that the governor issued, bringing legislatures back to the Capitol. In addition to changing the map, lawmakers also repealed a law that had been on the books for decades that actually prohibits mid-decade redistricting. Tennessee is one of states that actually doesn't allow mid-decade redistricting. They also changed the deadline by which candidates may qualify. They allowed for additional candidates to qualify, which is something that is happening now. They suspended the residency requirements for candidates, and they eliminated the requirement that voters receive mail written notice of their new district. All of these things were not specifically mentioned in the proclamation, and therefore we believe that this session should be rendered null and void. We will be at the state Supreme Court next week, Thursday, for argument in that important case. In addition, just yesterday, we filed suit in federal court under the 14th and 15th Amendments, arguing that what lawmakers did here was intentionally discriminatory and targeted Black voters. And we are looking at the legislative record developed over that 40 hours. We are leaning on a lot of the rallies that were led by leaders and advocates on the ground who called out the discrimination. So I just want to make clear how the advocacy on the front end goes hand in hand with the legal work that's happening on the back end. So the Tennessee fight is not over. That bill may have been signed into law, but we're going to continue to press forward in the courts to resist this effort to turn the clock back. In Louisiana, we know that there is a lot happening. We know that there was a marathon session that went 9 hours before one of the House committees. It ended at about 4:35 in the morning. And I just want to recognize the endurance and the resilience and the strength of so many advocates who are showing up in Louisiana right now and blasting and pushing back against this effort to dismantle the second majority Black district in Louisiana, and who are blasting officials for packing a district that now extends from New Orleans up through East Baton Rouge Parish. Work there is ongoing. And I took time walking through the effort in Tennessee just to make clear that that is exactly the kind of resistance and pushback that we need to continue to see in Louisiana and across the South. If Louisiana is successful, they will have eliminated and ripped away a most deserved second majority Black district in Louisiana. And we, along with our partners, will explore every legal tool and option available to push back. But I want to shine a light on the community advocates and youth leaders on the front lines, folks like Keturah Butler-Reed, who is the training and campaigns manager for youth and college of the National NAACP, and a Louisiana native, who testified against the proposal and warned of its long-term consequences, but also has been present at that Capitol. That we need thousands of folks really showing up right now and using their voices and packing the Capitol and resisting and pushing back against these disenfranchisement efforts. Mississippi, also a part of the national conversation right now. Many of you may see that they've pulled down a special session that was initially called. We know that Congressman Benny Thompson is the district that is and would be targeted here. There is also in play here the state Supreme Court maps that were subject to federal a federal litigation. The U.S. Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals recently decided on Monday to vacate an earlier ruling that had required the redrawing of a map for the state Supreme Court that had required that Mississippi put in place a fair map. But we're keeping an eye on Mississippi. We know that Governor Reeves again has Congressman Benny Thompson on his target list. In fact, he has described Congressman Benny Thompson's tenure as a reign of terror. We will push back and resist any effort to dismantle the only majority Black district in the state of Mississippi, which is home to the largest Black population percentage-wise in the country. Black voters deserve voice in our democracy. Let me make a quick pivot to Virginia. There were many people who turned out for the ballot referendum in Virginia. I know that folks saw that the state Supreme Court went sideways and issued a 4-3 ruling that invalidated the results and the voices of more than 3 million people who turned out in that state election. And nullified the result that would have put in place a fair map, a map that is responsive to a lot of the ugly gerrymandering efforts that we have seen across the country. But that fight is not over. Virginia officials have taken that fight to the U.S. Supreme Court, and just yesterday, the NAACP, along with the Advancement Project, filed an amicus brief because we are not ready to abandon the fight. We are going to continue to press and push that the votes of 3 million plus voters be recognized and acknowledged. So the Virginia fight is not over, and I just wanted to take a moment to flag that. Alabama is also facing a renewed redistricting battle. Many of you know that there was litigation that resulted in the creation of a second majority Black district in the state that is the birthplace of the Voting Rights Act. Alabama is the state where people marched and bled and died so that we can all have voice in our democracy. And so we're going to keep that legacy at the forefront of our legal advocacy efforts as officials work to turn the clock back. And we stand with all of our partners who are planning to gather in Montgomery to press the case and to make forward that the mass disenfranchisement campaign that we're seeing across the country runs contrary to everything that we should stand for in American democracy. Georgia, we are locked in with our partners on the ground in Georgia. We know that the governor there just announced that he will call a legislative session to redraw districts for the 2028 elections. So we are going to activate and begin to mobilize and organize there. Let me close with some discussion about our next steps and a call to action. Right now, it is important to be on defense and offense. It's important that we show up to the hearings, show up to these capitals where they are working furiously to strip away our voices and our votes. It's important that where we can, we insist that we have a seat at the table and provide oral testimony. It's important that we submit written testimony to make clear that what they are doing is discriminatory and to make sure that we are putting them all on notice, that we are watching, that we are seeing, that we know what they're doing, that we know that what they are doing is intentional and purposefully discriminatory. It's important that we call these efforts out publicly and galvanize and activate people so that they truly understand how important it is that we vote this election cycle, that we vote at the highest levels, at historic levels, because there is so much at stake in this moment. It is important that we also talk about the need for reform. I talked earlier about Justice Kagan saying that only members of Congress should have done what the court did in rewriting the Voting Rights Act. Justice Alito essentially took out a pen and rewrote and gutted the Voting Rights Act. So we need to be talking about and calling for Supreme Court reform. Supreme Court reform to help restore independence and fairness to our nation's highest court. We need to advocate for the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act and remember his legacy and his life's work, and continue to push for Congress to put in place strong reforms that can ban racial gerrymandering and ensure that we all have voice in our democracy. And at the state level, we need to be advocating for things like state voting rights acts. In just the last few months, we saw states like New Jersey and Maryland put state VRA laws on the books. So we know that there is a roadmap, a workable roadmap to advocacy and reform that can help in our states put strong protections on the books. So just a quick overview of what's happening across the country. Looking forward to working with all of you to make sure that we champion and fight and push to have voice in our democracy, and just grateful for all of the ways in which folks are standing up and pushing back in this moment.
Thank you so very much, Madam General Counsel. We really appreciate this rundown. I think folks are, they're applauding, they're dropping hearts, but most importantly, they are ready to be in this fight with us. And so I know we don't have a lot of time. We're not going to do an official Q&A, but there is one question that I've seen a couple times. And so if you can just take a moment, folks are asking, you know, how do you find information on like proposed redistricting efforts in their community? And what are some ways that we can like stave off these efforts? Like, how can we be sitting in on these hearings? How can we find out about these hearings? Should we be testifying? Like, what can we do in this moment in our community?
It's a great question, right? In places like Tennessee, they moved this thing fast. And even lawmakers, even members of the Black Caucus didn't have an opportunity to see the maps that were, you know, drawn in back rooms. So it's really important that we organize and work together right now to make sure that we are pushing, that we are, you know, looking at state legislative websites to see hearings that may be scheduled, that we are working with members of our Black Caucus, and finding out about hearings and showing up at the Capitol. And if they don't give us a seat and opportunity at the table, that we are, you know, holding our own convenings and rallies outside those Capitol doors to shine a light on what they're doing. So really coming together and organizing right now is incredibly important. And I know our field team is going to talk about some of the state advocacy efforts that are underway in a moment.
Thank you. Last question, and then we are going to let you go. The question that we have is, someone says, I've heard about the great difficulty in proving in the courts that redistricting is discriminatory. What is the strategy that will be used by the NAACP's attorneys?
Well, as you said earlier, we're suing everybody and we're not giving up the fight. There is no doubt that the court took away one of our most powerful tools to fight back against voting discrimination. They have weakened the Voting Rights Act, but they haven't weakened our spirit. And so we're going to be creative in this moment. We are going to be bold, and we are going to be aggressive, and we are going to be strategic. And it's why I spent a lot of time talking about Tennessee. And hours after the governor signed that bill into law, we marched into state court to challenge the procedural defects of what they did. So we will use every tool available to fight back, both inside and outside the courtroom. We are all in this together.
Thank you so very much, Madam General Counsel. We really appreciate the guidance and just the understanding of the landscape of how the NAACP is moving in this moment. And like you said, we are fighting a war on all fronts. And so we're using every tool in our toolbox. We are litigating, we are organizing, we are mobilizing, we're doing research. Folks are testifying, right? Folks are staying up into their state capitals till 3, 4, 5 in the morning. We are enduring. And so we thank you for leading the charge on our legal strategy, helping make sure folks are prepared to be watchdogs in their own communities, to testify and to stand for justice. And so we thank you for that. As you mentioned earlier, we are going to move into a conversation around field and what you all have been doing in your states, right? I saw in the Q&A, some folks are asking, like, what are some examples of what people are doing and how are our state conferences and our units fighting back? And so we actually have a few leaders on the call tonight to really highlight how we are fighting back. So we are going to bring up our Chief of Field, Mr. Dominic Whitehead, and he's going to bring in President Mike McClanahan from the Louisiana State Conference, along with Katora Butler-Reed, our National Youth and College Training Manager. We're going to bring in President Gloria Sweetlove from the state of Tennessee, and then we're going to bring in from the state of Florida, Attorney Pamela Birchford. Chief Whitehead.
There we go. Thank you so much for that, Phaedra. And thank you so much to our General Counsel, Kristen Clark. We are literally on the front lines as it relates to all things litigation in this moment. But the other thing we know as NAACP, we got to be outside. So I want folks to write outside in the chat, because we have to be outside in this moment because we have a lot of work to do. These Zoom calls are great. These webinars are great. And what we're doing, providing information, but the enemy and the threat is outside. And so we got to get from behind our computers and get outside and engage in the fight. I mean, one of the things that we're going to hear from our leaders tonight from Louisiana, from Tennessee and Florida, those things have happened, as we heard from the General Counsel a moment ago. Though we saw legislation pass that was not in our favor, clearly we are at the courts, but we still have to show up and advocate. We still have to show up and mobilize and organize and talk to folks in our community. And I think the chairman said this best at the top of the call. We need all of our units, whether you be an adult unit, whether you be a college chapter, a youth unit, a youth counselor, and or even a prison unit. We need folks outside and engaged in this moment. I see folks in the chat writing right now, fired up. And so the field team here at the NAACP is going to engage with units across the country, regardless of your state, whether there are attacks that are happening in your legislatures in the South, and or whether we're trying to be proactive, like states like New Jersey and or New York, or the state of Michigan, or even the state of California, where we're seeing good legislation being passed as it relates to voting rights. A part of being outside is being in coalition and being in partnership. And so we're asking our units in this moment to engage with partners on the ground like never before. You should be working with the Divine Nine, the faith-based community, and so many other organizations that can help us in this moment, because the attack has happened to all of us. And so, Phaedra, so I'll stop here because we want to hear about the work that's happening on the ground. This is about the states. NAACP got a strong ground game. And so how are we showing up? How are we fighting back? How are we making sure we're organizing community by community, person by person, voter by voter in this moment? So we'll kick it over to President Michael McCallahan first, and then our very own Katora Butler-Reed to talk about what is happening in Louisiana and how they've been mobilizing over the last week and a half, 2 weeks there in the state of Louisiana, pushing back on that legislature and their governor there. President McCallahan.
Good afternoon, everyone. Glad to be here. Thank you for this opportunity. I've been saying for years, Louisiana is a strange place. What works up in some other states won't work down here because, you know, the devil dwells in Louisiana. You know, we had Plessy versus Ferguson, you know, whenever they eliminated, ended slavery, we came up with Jim Crow. So we got a governor that's called Jeff Crow, and we got an attorney general called Liz Crow. And so we fight the devil with people. People power wins. We've been packing the legislature This week we have buses come in from North Louisiana, South, East, and West Louisiana down to the state capitol because, as you know, as soon as the Cali case came down, our low-down governor went right into work. They have a super majority here in Louisiana. That means they have the governor and both houses of the legislature, but that means nothing. Here in Louisiana, what we're looking to do is take them out of their comfort zone. They haven't seen the mobilization that we've been showing over the last couple of days. Also, that we realize too that when I look at these people face, they're devils. And so you can't fight the devil with rocks. You can't fight him with bones. You got to fight him with the spirit. And so we've been marching around that place knowing that the God that we serve is going to tear that kingdom down. We feel a shift going on, and we're going to still march around there. But also what we're going to do is go out and vote. You know, this governor, this legislature moved in midterms from November into May in anticipation of the ruling from the Supreme Court. And so when the Supreme Court ruling came down, this low-down governor suspended the U.S. House elections, suspended them. Even though there's still some elections going on, people were confused. And so our job was to continue to get out and educate. There's election going on. There's election going on. Because we can beat them at their game by getting out and vote. And so we've been pulling people out. I've been telling all our branches, they need to turn it to two things, one of two things, or both. Phone bankers and door knockers. Phone bankers and door knockers. You don't have the liberty to sit back and wait until, you know, some mail get to somebody's house. You need to go drag them out the houses. Our numbers will show them that we ain't playing. We're going to be back. The governor of this legislature has some amendments on the books. We're going to beat that back. But also, you know, the people of Louisiana ain't dumb as he wants us to believe, want people to believe. Someone has filed a recall petition against him. He was only elected by a couple 100,000 votes. We want him running. We want him running scared. And so we're going to continue to fight him and fight his friends. And we've solicited the help of our faith-based leaders, the Divine Nine, you know, people who normally don't come to the Capitol. Saw us the other day, came and gave us their help. And they're out walking, they're out rallying. And so we're going to continue to rally. I appreciate Katora Butler-Reed for the work that she's done. She's done tremendous help. And so let an old man like me kind of rally while she does some of the boot work on the ground.
All right. Thank you so much, President McCallahan. Look, as he stated, we are doing some great work on the ground. So excited to really just empower, especially our young people. Oh, just as a reminder, I'm Katora Butler-Reed, National Training and Campaign Manager for Youth in College. But like he said, we were at the Capitol. When was that? Last Friday, and that decision came relatively quickly, but people pulled up in buses, and we packed out the Capitol. Even we packed out the overflow rooms. All of the overflow rooms in the Senate were packed out. We were there from 9:30 in the morning until 6 p.m. Some people until 6 p.m. that night. I wanted to make sure that the youth could get a chance to eat because they actually closed all of the cafeteria, so nobody could eat anything. So it's just another example of them not wanting us to be here. And I also want to note that it was literally storming that day. But people were so determined to utilize their voices and their power. Students like our youth and college leaders, Deasia Mitchell, a student at Grambling University, state conference president for youth and college, Ayanna Lockley, vice president of LSU, and a vice president of the state conference and president of LSU, and also their state advisor, Amari Hossein. And they were so excited. They also got a chance to offer testimony and really speak to the reason why they wanted to be in Louisiana, the reason why they wanted to continue to go to those schools, but they really advocated as to why young people might not want to start a life in Louisiana because of the lack of resources. So it was great to see the representation that our young people had, and they've actively been educating their members as well. And I also want to note that Ayanna was taking her finals that same week, but she knew that this was extremely important. Another thing I want to note, of course, I know everyone's already mentioned that we were there until 4:30 a.m. in the morning. And it actually was supposed to be on Wednesday, but they moved it up because people were planning to say, we were saying that we were going to come in buses, but they decided to move it up with little to no warning. And see, people still came, people still showed up. to the Crackathon. And of course, it passed through the Senate from the committee. And then they recently, even today, it just passed that. So it does have to go to the House. But people are going to show up again to those hearings. So right now, what we're doing is we're preparing our young people. We're preparing them to be able to advocate for themselves. But I must admit that they are so courageous, and I'm loving seeing all of this community, from our Mississippi Youth and College members to our Alabama Youth and College members to our Tennessee Youth and College members, and our Virginia Youth and College members are asking how they can help support. So just wanting to show you all, yes, this is a battle, but we have not lost. We are still fighting, and our young people are going to carry us to that victory. So I'll pass it back to you, Chief. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Couture. I love that what's happening in Louisiana with the intergenerational organizing. And so we have units on across the country. Let's use that intergenerational organizing. President McCallahan is lifting up youth there throughout the state of Louisiana, right? And our youth and college division, both at the national level, is working with all of our youth in the states across the country. Make sure we make this intergenerational, because we need all of us. The General Counsel mentioned a second of the great work that is happening in Tennessee. So along with being outside, we got to do some good advocacy work. We got to make sure we're educating the community, we're engaging the community. So I'm going to bring up our state conference president, Gloria Sweetlove. They've done some great work in almost less than 48 hours when this was going down in the state of Tennessee, from town halls to advocating at the state capitol to being in the state capitol. President Sweetlove, tell the folks how you all are still fighting and doing the work in the great state of Tennessee.
Good evening, Chief Dominique, and to all of you all. Thank the General Counsel for all of the great work that you guys are doing. But basically, we believe that we've come to this place for such a time as this. We believe that all of the organizing, all of the building that we've done with other coalition building, all of those things, all the training that we done was for such a time as this. And yes, we did. We pulled together a town hall meeting from Saturday morning at 9 o'clock to Monday at 5 p.m. where we had over 300 people there. And I mean, this was seniors and young people. But we have to get the word out. Guys, we got to share what we do and let people know why it's critical that we do this. We got to get everybody involved. You know, you got all those contacts you got in your phone. You got to start calling folks and, you know, call the Deltas, call the Omegas, call the Alphas, call the Masonics. Everybody that we got MOUs with, you got to call them. I just finished calling ministers this evening to, yes, we're going to send a flyer out. Yes, we're going to send an email out. But I called some bishops and say, I need you to announce this across your pulpit and get it out, that we need to take some buses to Mississippi on Wednesday, and we need to have them packed. And we want to fill up the buses and have people trailing us in cars. Because at this time, we need to let people know that we're serious. We are not giving up. We're going to sue you as much as we can, but we're going to show up. We're going to get on our knees and pray and get up and fight.
Thank you, President Sweetlove. Well said with that charge to action. It happened in one state, it can happen in another. So Tennessee said they are headed to Mississippi to stand with our brothers and sisters there in the great state of Mississippi. But the big thing is we're going to get up every single day and fight. Make sure we're engaging and calling. I know the campaigns team love to hear that, calling people, not just texting and emailing, but picking up the phone and calling people in this moment and engaging them and letting them know how important this moment is. We then go on further down south to the state of Florida, where a lot has happened there. We heard from the General Counsel from the legal side, but we're going to bring up Pamela Birch-Ford, who worked with our Florida State Conference there. Shout out to Donald Hart, the state conference president. But Pamela, are you on with us to talk what is happening in this moment? Since legislation has passed there in Florida, how are folks moving in this moment? Attorney Birch-Ford.
Thank you so much, Dominic. We appreciate being here, and I bring you greetings from the Florida State Conference and our president, Donald Hart. And we are always happy to work with you, Dominic, as you are a Floridian. So we expect you to be on the ground with us in the state of Florida. The Florida NAACP is always on the front line. Our special session last week started with buses rolling in and approximately 350 Floridians packing the Capitol and attending the committee meetings. We packed the room. We testified before the House and the Senate committees as the Florida House moved to pass its map. The Calais decision was coming down. That map resulted in the majority ending with 24 seats and the minority ending with only 4. It cracked and packed minority communities along the way and diminished Florida's only majority Black district. 3 separate challenges to that map have already been filed. They have been consolidated, and a motion for a preliminary injunction is scheduled for a hearing tomorrow in state of Florida. And in conjunction with that hearing, we're planning another rally at the Florida Capitol. So we will have buses coming in. People will rally. They will be in front of the governor's office, letting the governor know how we feel. Those buses will then continue on to Montgomery to stand with our chapters there and with our people there. In the state of Florida, we're going to be working with our civic engagement chair, Cynthia Slater. We are planning a series of training sessions with our branches and with our youth councils. We are going to give an all-out effort to turn out the vote. We're going to go old school in the state of Florida. You remember there was a time when we had all our taxi drivers, all our independent taxi drivers, and we call up our funeral homes and ask to borrow their limousines and their hearses to get people to the polls to vote. So that's what you're going to see from the state of Florida. We're going to be on the front lines. We're going to turn this thing around. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Attorney Birchford, for that. And yes, I'm always on the ground and with you all there in the great state of Florida with everything happening. Folks, we are seeing a lot that is happening regardless of what we're seeing in the South. We're seeing our units across the country, literally across the country, engaging in ways that we haven't engaged in a very long time. We are advocating, we are educating, we are mobilizing, we're out talking to folks, we're in state legislatures. We have to do it all. We have to do every single thing that we can in this moment, and the NAACP field is on the front line. And so I'm gonna kick it back over to you, Phaedra. I know we got some things headed up in terms of Georgia. Folks are in the chat right now asking about Mississippi. All roads do lead to Mississippi. We'll talk about that a little later in the call, but Phaedra, the floor is back to you.
Thank you so much, Chief Whitehead. As we heard previously, we are hearing buses, we're hearing limos, we're hearing taxis. We are mobilizing in whatever way it looks. And that mobilization looks like state capitals. That mobilization looks like organizing people to vote. That looks like making sure people are ready to testify. We have to fight back at every moment. And I'm going to bring up some folks from Georgia because this is important. We just talked about what has happened in the past, right? Now we're going to talk about what's coming up in the future. We've been watching the state of Georgia. We had taken them off the board because Governor Kemp had said he wasn't going to call a special session. He was declining. We were like, okay, that's one less fire to put out. Yesterday, we heard breaking news that they were going to go into special session, and I guess they felt left out from the other southern states and decided that they wanted to come for Black voters in Georgia as well. And so we are very excited to have Senator Nikki Barrett, the chair of the Georgia Legislative Black Caucus, and Representative Bryce Berry from the Georgia State House to bring us an update on what we can expect to happen in the state of Georgia.
Thank you, Phaedra, and thank you everyone that is on today. You know, y'all, it's 3 alarm fire right now. It is go time. We already know what's about to happen in Georgia. We have time to plan. It is happening on June 17th. It's very despicable, and I think the timing is intentional that this is going to happen during the week of Juneteenth. So we already know we have time to organize. All of these ideas of buses, I encourage you all, go ahead and book your hotels now, get your buses now, plan to come down to Georgia, come down to that state capitol, and let's pack that capitol. We're already planning a Juneteenth event across from the Capitol. We're going to be loud. We're going to be as unruly and civil unrest as we can. I need to hear people as we're in that chamber while they're taking away voting rights from Black people. And just to let y'all know, the state of Georgia, we're almost 48% Black or person of color by population. So it is despicable at this time that now the Supreme Court ruling has gone through. Now there's a rush to redraw our maps. And mind you, we have redrawn our maps 4 times, I think. And this will probably be, I'm sorry, I think it's been 3. This will be the 4th time that we're redrawing this map. I need everybody to understand something. Unlike some other states, the proclamation that the governor made, and let's be clear, when he made the statement weeks ago that he didn't say he wasn't going to have a special session. He said he wasn't going to cancel our elections. I read between the lines, meaning he was going to deal with these maps this year. We just didn't know when. So what I need everybody to understand is the proclamation he made is not just for Congress. It's for all of our maps in the state of Georgia, House, Senate, my seat, all the elected bodies that are in the state of Georgia. There is a map that we have not seen. So I assume they're going to follow the same playbook, not show us the map to probably 24 hours until we're in session. So no transparency. The public has not seen anything. So all of my attorneys on with the NAACP, go ahead and start queuing up that lawsuit. Start now. Let's get ahead. Our problem is we've been behind and we're playing catch up. We already know what's about to happen in Georgia. Let's start getting ready now. We had a press conference today with the GLBC and some of our partners like the ACLU. We are mobilizing here. We're going to be meeting weekly with the Georgia Black Caucus to build strategy. We are leaning heavily here on our businesses here in Georgia. What is different from Georgia than other states? We are #1 in business for a reason, because we had business leaders here, both white and Black, that recognize the economic stability in the state of Georgia, where you have the biggest urban development and the Black population. It was important that we were pragmatic about our economy. And that is what has made Georgia different from other states. So it is deplorable at this time that Governor Kemp is choosing this path. We are international. We have the biggest international airport. We have the World Cup coming. We have conventions here. We've hosted the Olympics. So at this time, this is a bad look for Georgia, and we need to keep saying that over and over again. So at this time, I need everyone start mobilizing now. It is shameful. Yes, I hear somebody say it is shameful. I need everybody to start mobilizing now, because we already know what is about to happen. The playbook is going to go the same. Things are going to move very fast. I don't even know how long we're going to be in. Who knows? 3 days, 2 days. But understand this. There is a map already. We just haven't seen the map. So things are going to get pushed through. Like other southern states, we are out of balance. Our ability to stop things in motion, we're going to be very limited. Probably they're going to, have committees and rush it through committee. So it's going to be important that everybody shows up to support us. Not only that, and this has been mentioned, we have to start educating our voters. I got numbers today. There are 3 million registered Black voters in the state of Georgia who did not show up in the last election. We need them to show up. So whatever resources we can get from NAACP, any of our partners, we're legislators, we have what we have, but we need to get those 3 million people off the sofa and let them know the alarm is being sounded, that you are being attacked, your civil rights are being attacked, and we need you to show up. You know how many votes it takes to get a new governor? 2.5 million. We need our voters out now. So everybody here knows how to run campaigns. I have some legislators on here. We create touches. We should be in their mailbox. We should absolutely be at their door or wherever it is that they're at the clubs. Even, I don't know. That's where we need to be, out where they are. Let's get to them on the doors, wherever they are at the clubs, wherever they are in the parks. Let's go. We need to be on TV. We need to be on their phone and text, and we need to be on the internet. And we cannot continue to just be in the internet and advocate from the keyboard, you guys. We have got to get out there and talk to people. So I'm just asking everyone here, everyone that's on this call, all of our partners here, we're going to continue to build strategy here. We'll invite whomever, Dr. Brown, my executive director, is on this call. Please reach out to her. We're going to be organizing. I also have Representative Bell on our House side. He's on the call as well. I kind of looked at him. He is Mr. Atlanta. He is one of my younger electeds, and he is very good at organizing events. So, and I don't know, Eric, if you want to come on and say anything, if you're on, you're welcome. I won't take any more time. Is it Eric or Bryce? I thought it was Eric on. Is it Bryce?
It's Bryce this time.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was Eric. It's Bryce.
I'm sorry to let you down.
Younger legislator, that is Mr. Atlanta. I apologize. Yes, we need to get into beauty shops and everything. So Bryce, I'm going to let you talk. I'm going to yield my time, but thank you all. We can't give up. We are in a critical moment. Our civil rights have been gutted, and we cannot be silent. We cannot go down quietly, and it is time for civil unrest, and it's the type of stuff that you ain't going to get invited to dinners no more. So let's go, y'all.
Thank you, my chair. Thank you, Senator. And thank you all for having me tonight. I'm Representative Bryce Berry for District 56 here in Georgia, which is downtown, midtown, and southwest Atlanta. I'm also one of the first Gen Z members of our state legislature. And I said it to say, I want to speak to the young people today. This is our moment to step up and to stand out. Young people have lagged in early voting. We have only had 8,000, think about that, 8,000 people under the age 24 that have early voted in our 3 weeks of early voting. That is a shame, and we have to stand up. We have to step out right now because they're coming for us. These maps are coming for us. They're expecting us to be complacent. They're expecting us to continue to have apathy, expecting us to continue to not show up and not show out. And they think that we can just be drawn out, or they can just not include us in the process. But when we show up, we can show out. And when we show up, we can be counted in the process. And we know the playbook. We know what is going to happen. We know there's maps to be delayed. We know what the game's going to play. We don't have to ask what we're going to see. We know we're going to see. So now is our moment to stand up, to show up, to speak out, because we know they need to see us. And so June 17th is the day. June 17th is the day. Put it on your calendar. It's already on my calendar because I was in the legislature, but it's the day after my birthday too. So you come say happy birthday to me and sing, all the praises and everything. June 17th, I need to see y'all there. And June 17th, all the way through the end of June if we have to be there. But for however long we are in session, I need to see y'all there every single day. Show up, protest, because if they're going to strip Black people of their ounce of democratic power, then they should not expect to have no resistance. We have to resist on every single front, whether it be in the protest, whether it be with our words. We have to resist on every single front. So pack the gallery out, pack the Capitol out every single day. We'll probably be starting at 10 a.m. every single day. So I want to see y'all there from 10 a.m. to sundown.
Thank you so much, Representative Berry. Thank you so much, Senator. We really appreciate you all coming in and just letting us know what we are up against in the state of Georgia, right? And we hear you. Georgia got next. It is not the field we want to be playing, but we are here. We are not taking this sitting down. So thank you very much. All right, so we want to progress this call. We said we try to keep it as short as possible, but get you all information. So I'm going to bring up one of my team members, Ms. Corey Johnson, and Corey's going to talk to us about how we communicate at scale, right? Folks are asking, what can I do? How can I get information? And so Corey, take it away.
Good evening, freedom fighters. Thank you so much, Vice President Jackson. My name is Dr. Corey Johnson, and I am the National Director of Advocacy here at the NAACP. As Chairman Russell, Chief Whitehead, General Counsel Clark, Senator Merritt, Representative Berry, Katora have set the tone, it is absolutely imperative that we know in this moment that organizing and advocating is not optional for our communities. It is required. If you are ready to fight back against threats to democracy, I want you to type NAACP advocates in the chat. If you are ready to carry the torch of this outside work, that our ancestors have left us with, I want you to type NAACP advocates in the chat. Okay. Since the founding of the NAACP, we have understood the urgency of building institutions that are capable of resisting the systems that have been designed to harm us. This is not just an individual thing, this is institutional. And so our task has not just become merely surviving, but how are we able to ensure that our communities thrive despite these concrete-like circumstances, right? Coretta Scott King says, struggle is a never-ending process. Freedom is never really won. You earn it and win it in every generation. And so every single generation, we must fight to protect it. We must fight to expand it. And we must fight to redefine it. So as we open this next chapter of our history, we must also be honest. What is happening is not new for Black communities. It is not new for our association. We have seen coordinated attacks on Black political power before. We have seen voter suppression before. We have seen attempts to redraw democracy in ways that erase us before. And every single time, the NAACP has responded by organizing through our advocacy work. That includes community education. We have been meticulous. We are trained for this. As the oldest and boldest civil rights organization in the nation, we will hold the line and lean deep, 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 deep into our advocacy bag. As President Sweetlove said, in the essence of Esther 4:14, we were made for such a time as this. And we know that NAACP advocacy is not random. It is strategic. It is disciplined. It is organized. And we operationalize that through our 7-point advocacy model, type 7-point advocacy. If you have been trained on our 7-point advocacy model, right, that model guides how we respond to attacks on our democracy. So when we talk about advocacy and organizing to stand up and fight back, we're talking about a myriad of tools that we have been using. We don't just forget those when we start making challenges to these institutions that are trying to harm us, right? So what does that look like in terms of educating our larger community and making sure that we're using all the tools that we've accumulated over the last 2-3 years where we've done intensive trainings? First is town halls. Who remembers our fierce town halls? Wisdom Cole is not on the call right now, but I have to give a shout out to him because of the work that he did in facilitating how we're able to build up for this specific moment. We know that town halls are how we keep our communities engaged. They require issue identification, research, coalition building, right? Messaging, action engagement, power mapping, direct advocacy. We don't eliminate those tools because the system may be looking a little different, okay? We're gonna go to the next slide, and thank you so much, Anoki. One of the other tools that we have is in district meetings. I wanna shout out Long Island, the Long Island branch of the NAACP, because they did this excellently last year when they met with 4 congressional representatives to discuss what was happening in their communities. I want to shout out the New York State Conference, President Eljoy, and how she was able to mobilize during state advocacy week season and month season, where we're meeting with the governor, where we're meeting with elected officials to hold people accountable in our communities that are responsible for our communities. Another way that we do this is through webinars like these, right? Where we're able to produce mass amounts of information for our communities to digest and understand what is happening, what the issue is. We know some community members, when we talk to them, they're like, I don't even know what the redistricting really means, right? We saw in Virginia, shout out to Leader Gayleen, shout out to President Cozy Bailey, right? When we talk about how there's misinformation and disinformation of demographics, how are we able to challenge that? And then we can go to the next slide. I'm going to hurry up because I know that we're watching the time. The last thing I'll say is we need to also put pressure on mobilization and activations, right? We know that our framework is always action. As Chief Whitehead said, we need to be outside. all the time. These are cute, right? Webinars are cute, right? Organizing on social media is cute, but we need to be in the streets. And so that's a key and essential part of the work that we're doing. We're going to drop some links in the chat to some of the toolkits that we have in regards to our redistricting fight and in regards to our toolkit for town halls. I'll also drop my email address in the chat. So if anyone has any questions, your advocacy team here at the NAACP is ready to go, and we are fired up. And I'll pass it back over to you, Vice President Jackson.
Thank you so much, Corey. Again, we wouldn't be the advocacy and the field team if we didn't give you all tools. Our team is dropping them in the chat right now. We've got a town hall toolkit. A lot of you already know how to do it, so we're not telling you anything you don't know, but if you need a place to start, we've got a toolkit there to help you walk through it. Don't worry, we always send out the deck, the recording, and all of the tools. So if you're unable to capture it in real time, it will be sent to you. If you registered for this call, the same email that you registered with, you will get it back. But we just want you to know we have assets for you. We have things you can post on social to raise awareness. And so make sure you use these tools. And if you have questions, like Corey said, our team is here to support you. All right, so let's move into the back end of this call. We are going to talk about our advocacy in action. Folks are doing things right now, and we want to make sure you're aware of what's happening in your community and across the country. And so we are going to bring up representatives from Fort Lauderdale, Broward County. We're looking at President Marsha Ellison. We are going to bring up folks from Detroit, Michigan. We've got Executive Director Camelia Landrum from the Detroit NAACP branch. We're going to bring up President Barry Jefferson from Arkansas, the Arkansas State Conference. And then we're going to bring up President Cozy Bailey and PAC Chair Gayleen Kanoyton to talk about Virginia. So we will go in that order. I'll take it to you, President Ellison.
Thank you for allowing me to have a few minutes in this space. We have utilized, town hall meetings. We have utilized virtual webinars. We have mobilized our partners. We have doubled our membership and through that. But because we know that currently Broward County has a population of approximately 541,000 Black people. And we know that District 20, Florida Congressional District 20, was Florida's last and only majority Black district. And we certainly know that the importance of Black voting power and representation in Congress and community influence in our federal policy. And because we know that when the people are allowed to vote, when they're given an opportunity to vote, then they choose the candidate of their choice. And in Broward County, through the advocacy work of the NAACP, with the help of staff and National Interest Toolkits, and certainly our chairman, the people of Broward County have chosen duly elected a Black public defender, Black state attorney, Black supervisor of elections, Black clerk of the court, Black tax collector, a Black sheriff, 13 Black judges, 3 Black judicial magistrates, 2 Black senators, 2 Black state representatives, and 3 county commissioners, and so on and so on. And because of that, and because we know that the strategies that National and staff has put forth and we've utilized, we have scheduled our next emergency redistricting, NAACP emergency redistricting town hall meeting. And who better to make sure that we have boots on the ground, that our people have all the tools that they need, than Florida's own chairman of the board, Mr. Leon W. Russell. And we sent out the invite, and we are deliciously proud that Chairman Russell has accepted to come into Broward County and share with us how we got here and work with us on next steps, and to make sure that we do everything that we need to do, be it voter registration, voter education, voter mobilization, and certainly voter turnout. And we will certainly work to continue that because of the work that we have been doing, constantly using the tools that were provided. And because we already have a person who does not look like me, who has decided that they are seeking to be our next representative, a congressional person from Florida Senate, Florida Congressional District 20. because the people deserve a choice, all 541,000, and we've been split into multiple directions. We have hit the ground running, and we will use every tool that we have in our toolbox to make sure that the Black community is not disenfranchised, and we'll continue to look to national and continue working. We want to thank Dominic and his team for always being at the ready to answer the call and to provide any assistance that we need. And certainly thank you, Mr. Chairman, for coming again to Broward to help us to be successful in us making sure that we maintain representation with our life experience in our community. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And now we are going to kick it over to Michigan and go to Executive Director Camelia Landrum.
Thank you so much, NAACP. Thank you to all of our leaders on behalf of our president, Reverend Dr. Wendell Anthony, our state conference president, Miss Yvonne White. Thank you for allowing us this opportunity to talk about the good work. Redistricting is not new. This started in 2018 for Michigan, where we had our maps redrawn both in 22 and in 2024. It took tons of work to be able to try and make sure that the representation was there that we needed to move the civil rights agenda and move the agenda for freedom that we wanted to see take place. What we did was make sure that in 22 and in 24, we passed our Promote the Vote laws, which allowed us to expand access to the ballot that was truly needed in the state of Michigan so that we could get voters out any way, anyhow to cast those ballots and make sure that their voices was heard. And so as we come together in 2026, seeing the attacks that are there at the state conference, at the state levels, at our federal levels, we are pulling together the partners. We are fully activating our Take Your Souls to the Polls campaign. We have a strategic roundtable to get out the vote. Our theme this year is liberty or oppression. The choice is ours. And we want to make sure that every single voter in the city of Detroit, in the state of Michigan, fully understands that they should be choosing liberty. When you choose liberty at the ballot box, you make it very clear that you are supporting the mission of the NAACP. You are not afraid to fight back. You are not going to have your voice silenced. You are going to make sure that you are making it clear, I am liberated in this nation, in this state, in this city. So Friday, May 22, as we kick off bringing all of our partners together for the roundtable, we will be talking about the registration, mobilization, leaving no street unwalked, no door unknocked, no phone unanswered. We go into our Wayne County jails to make sure that those that have a right to vote and have not been charged have the opportunity to do so. Our nursing homes, our seniors, we will not forget the most vulnerable. And so we want to make sure that as we pull the folks together and they choose liberty this year, that they will have the NAACP in the forefront directing them where to go. So thank you very much for giving me this moment. We are NAACP. We can win this. We will win this. As you said, we know how to do this. We ain't new to this. We are true to this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Executive Director Landrum. Yes, we are leaving no votes behind. Go ahead and type Liberty into the chat as we bring up President Barry Jefferson from the Arkansas State Conference.
Good evening, freedom fighters. I am fired up. We are fired up here in Arkansas. We have so much to do in this state. We have so much to do in this country. So we are fired up right now. We are fired up. I fired the branches up by having an early call, a emergency call to all branches for some training. And I want to thank Ms. Jackson and her team for that training to mobilize my team, to get them educated so they can advocate, get out there and learn how to work the van so we can hit doors and speak to people. This is important. We're building a relationship with our partners throughout the state, because that's so important. We have ballot initiative that we are part of, that we have to fight for education in the state of Arkansas, and we have to fight for democracy, direct democracy in Arkansas. So those two are going to be on the ballot because we have to get the signatures. And that's what we're doing here in Arkansas, because we truly believe in the mission of the NAACP. We truly believe in supporting the voiceless. This is what we are doing. Our branches are very involved. We are getting busy. We got a bus that's coming to Arkansas. We're going to fill that bus up to go down to Mississippi to support our friends, support our fellow freedom fighters in Mississippi. We got people calling already, ready for a ride, so we can go down there and do some direct democracy because we want to do it. So Arkansas is ready. We're here, ready to fight, ready to stand. We have a governor who just don't care, but we have something for her. Thank you for this opportunity to speak about the things that Arkansas is doing that we need to be doing here right now. Thank you so much, Ms. Jackson, for your support and your leadership. Thank you to our leaders of the NAACP for their leadership and supporting the state of Arkansas. God bless you.
Thank you so much, President Jefferson. We appreciate all that you are doing in Arkansas. All right, to the Commonwealth of Virginia, please bring us home President Bailey and Chair Knoyton.
Thank you, Phaedra, and good evening, freedom fighters. This is what Gayleen and I are going to do, the 1-2 punch that we become, I think, famous for in the Commonwealth of Virginia. I'm going to tell you how we got to where we are, and Gayleen's going to tell you where we're going from here. Let me tell you how we got to where we are. Virginia was supposed to be a guardrail, if you will, for the national redistricting efforts that are taking place. In the Commonwealth of Virginia, it was put on the ballot for the people of Virginia to vote to determine whether we would come up with some new congressional districts. The NAACP led the effort for the Vote Yes campaign. We did a lot of things, taking the training that Dr. Corey Johnson has given us on the 7-point plan. And the first thing we came up with, and I will attribute it to Gayleen one time and then use it as it's of my own, we came up with a thing: don't guess, vote yes. Why did we do that? Because the way that the language on the ballot was to redistrict was so complex, we knew that we needed to educate our people. And so we focused on that. We focused then on establishing the Virginia State Conference NAACP as the authoritative voice throughout the Commonwealth on what this initiative was all about. And then we got hit with something that we truly didn't anticipate. We got hit in the Commonwealth of Virginia with one of the most well-coordinated, absolutely despicable mis- and disinformation campaigns that this country has ever seen. We were hit with mailers every other day that quoted, should I say misquoted, former President Barack Obama. While he was running commercials on television encouraging people to vote yes, there were words that were taken out of context that he had said earlier that were trying to convince Black people to vote no. But what that told us was one thing, that the opposition realized that the 1.85 million Black people in the Commonwealth of Virginia were incredibly important to this effort. And so we revamped our strategy and we went on a pushback campaign that resulted in us winning the election. And then the Supreme Court of the Commonwealth of Virginia decided that the people's will would not be heard, that all of the effort and voting that had been done did not count. But we, like the old spiritual said, we will not be turned around. We will let no one turn us around. We will keep on moving until we get to Freedom's Land. And what we're going to do next is capitalize on those things that we were able to accomplish. We created even a greater coalition of freedom fighters under the NAACP, but utilizing the faith-based organizations within the Commonwealth of Virginia, D9 organizations, and others who are fired up and ready for some more leadership. And so what we're going to do is capitalize on that. And Gayleen is going to tell you about what our next steps are. Go ahead, Gayleen.
Thank you, President Bailey, and thank you for having us on, Chief Whitehead and Leader Jackson. Let me say this, we're fired up in Virginia. We are real fired up in Virginia, but we're going to focus on, we didn't get those 4 seats because they changed the, we was going to do 10 districts, 10-1, 10 districts and 10 progressive districts and then 1 conservative district. We didn't get that because the Supreme Court turned it around, but guess what? We're going to focus on those 4 districts because we're going to do it the old-fashioned way, and we're going to take it back. And we're going to do this Saturday, we're going to kick off our pre-Freedom Summer 2.0 in Virginia by having a march in Richmond, Virginia. We're going to have a march, and then the police officer has said, the police department has said that they don't have enough police officers for us to walk in the street. Sheriff's not available either, and we said, don't worry about it. We'll walk on the sidewalk. And so we're still having it. And we're going to march from 7th and Broad all the way to the Bell Tower on the Capitol grounds and hold a rally. And it's going to be a strategic rally. It's going to be a call to action on what you can do. And that's going to be in terms of voter registration, mobilization, but also local mutual aid. We need to be working in the community, helping people in the community as well, and educating them while we're out here helping them, going to hair salons and barbershops. We have a whole list of things that we're going to be talking about at this rally. So we won't be talking at people, we'll be talking with people, and we're ready for action and we're ready to go. Thank you.
Thank you so much to all of our state conference leaders and the work that you were doing and the organizing that you were doing. And as we transition, so we've talked about what's going on in our states. You've heard everyone talk about going to Mississippi. So let's talk about what's going on in Mississippi. We're going to bring up Mr. Charles Taylor, Executive Director for the Mississippi State Conference, to let us know what exactly we get on buses for and what's going on. Mr. Taylor?
Thank you so much, Phaedra, and thank you to Mr. Chairman, and always I got to shout out Miss Sweet Love. I love her to death. I just want to say I'll fight somebody over Miss Sweet Love, and so I'm grateful to her and all of you. So Mississippi, a couple things I want to break down to you. The governor of Mississippi called a special session before the Louisiana versus Calais decision came down. Here's why. Two things happened. The Mississippi NAACP filed a lawsuit along with the national office, and as a result, we end up breaking the supermajority in the Senate because it demanded for us to have three new state legislative districts, 2 in the Senate, 1 in the House. And we had those special elections last year, and we won. That was the NAACP lawsuit where we won. The ACLU also filed a lawsuit around the Mississippi Supreme Court districts, stating that it was very difficult for a Black candidate of choice to be elected in any of the districts. We won that lawsuit. Louisiana versus Calais was going on. The state legislature was supposed to redraw the Mississippi Supreme Court districts in more favor so that a Black candidate of choice could actually win. They decided not to do it. They just completely didn't do their job. So the district court brought them back into court and said, hey, we need you to fix it. The governor said, well, I don't want to do it until Louisiana versus Calais. Louisiana versus Calais came down the very next week. And then he was talking about, we're going to have this special session. We're going to look at the congressional districts in Mississippi. We're going to look at the state legislature. We're going to look at the Supreme Court. And they were ready to do some very ugly things. Just recently, because the court vacated a few days ago, Mississippi canceled its special session, but we are still going to show up and we're going to fight at the Capitol. Here's what happened. Our governor said yesterday, Congressman Benny Thompson, who is the long-serving Black member in the state of Mississippi. Many of you know him as the chairman of the January 6th Select Committee, who was fighting for our democracy. Our governor said the terror of Benny Thompson will be over soon because we're going to redraw these districts. And I'm going to tell our governor that the terror of white supremacy will be over because folks around the South and around the country will be in Mississippi. I'm grateful to President Callahan and President Sweetlove and to Alabama President Eli in Alabama, and I'm exhausted, so I'm forgetting my great friend in Arkansas. Phaedra, can you help me out?
Jefferson.
Yeah. Sorry, I couldn't get off mute. Yes, President Jefferson.
Right. President Jefferson. We had a great conversation about a year ago, but I'm grateful to him as well and the folks. So we need you to join us at the Capitol if you can, May 20th, 2026. The last thing I'll say about this is that groups in Mississippi got together last November and we formed a coalition to talk about Calais. We knew a decision like this was going to come down. And so before we got the decision, we had town halls across Mississippi just to inform residents of what was happening. So we met in about 30 counties across the state. You know, we began to have a public education campaign around voting rights. We introduced the Robert G. Clark Voting Rights Act, which Robert G. Clark was the first African-American member of the Mississippi legislature, elected in 1967. So we did a lot of things to build up to this moment. And now that we're in this moment, we're culminating where we're asking thousands of people to come to the Capitol. But that's just the starting point. We have a plan to register 50,000 African Americans to vote in the state of Mississippi this year. We have a very important Senate race where Scott Colomb is running against Cindy Hyde-Smith. As you know, Scott Colomb is a lifetime member of the NAACP. He's been a great supporter. He serves as district attorney in northern Mississippi. You know, just one of the most progressive DAs that we have in the country, great supporter to the NAACP. You know, we're looking at the legal battles. We have already had groups of NAACP members in various parts of the state to work with demographers such as Tony Fairfax, and then to be able to create communities of choice or talk about their communities of choice so that we can have additional information and additional ways to fortify the districts that exist in the state of Mississippi. We are having field hearings, partnering with Congressman Thompson to have one in Jackson and the Delta, but other field hearings, or we will have testimony of folks talking about voter suppression in Mississippi, their unique experience with it. You know, what is it they believe that we need in order to make voting easier for residents and citizens in the state of Mississippi? You know, we're working with the Office of General Counsel to think through all these legal strategies, even before we see an ugly map. So the eyes of the country are on the South. As folks are talking about Tennessee and Louisiana and Alabama and Mississippi and Georgia and Florida, we have the eyes of the country. And what I want to share with you, and I want the country to know, is that just as the problems exist in the South, the solution is deeply rooted in the South. And you can't have a solution without the National Association for the Advancement of Colored Folks. Colored people, rather. So I'm just grateful to you. I'm exhausted, but I feel no ways tired.
Thank you so much, Charles. We are all excited. Well, as we go to the next slide, you will see the staff has been putting links in the chat. If you live in Tennessee, Alabama, Louisiana, Georgia, or Arkansas, there will be buses leaving from your state. These links help us track who is getting on a bus and if we have enough buses and seats and all of that stuff. So click on a link, sign up to get on a bus, and we will get you to Mississippi. I think you've heard tonight, this is not the first, this will not be the last. The South is under attack, and we need your support. So we will be rolling into Mississippi to support our state conference and their allies there. But it could be your backyard tomorrow. And so thank you to our leaders for all that they are doing to get us here. I know it has been a long night. We are rushing to a close. Again, we've got two more things for you before we get our closing remarks. So I'm going to kick it over to Chief Whitehead to talk about the mass mobilization in Alabama this weekend.
Thank you so much, Phaedra. And thank you just to all of our states and everyone who stayed on. We hit close to 2,100 folks on this call tonight, and we still have well over 1,700 on. But as many folks know, there's so many activations happening this weekend. As Charles just laid it out, the great state of Mississippi, we are headed to Jackson on next Wednesday. But before Jackson, there are some activations happening this weekend in Alabama, in Montgomery and Selma. Our Alabama NAACP State Conference is heavily involved and on the ground. President Ron Ali and Reverend Woodford there out of the great state of Selma. And so we're asking folks, if you're in Alabama, If you are in the South, they can attend and engage in that activation this weekend. We want folks to show up there. I believe it's from 1 to 4 in Montgomery in front of the Capitol there in Alabama this weekend. So NAACP is supporting throughout the country, right? We're outside, as I mentioned a moment ago, in terms of mobilizing and engaging. We're advocating and doing advocating work, excuse me, at state capitals across the country. But most importantly, we're organizing and talking to people day in and day out. The South is the battleground. I know Mr. Cortland Cox is on, but we need to start saying the South is the new battleground. There's nothing but opportunity in the South, and the NAACP, with all of your leadership, we can change the trajectory of this country by engaging and mobilizing in the South. Phaedra, I'll kick it to you. I want to make sure that we see President Johnson on to close us out. Not President Johnson, actually not President Johnson. Kicking back to you, Phaedra, for call to action to Tyler, then President Johnson.
Thank
you.
You got it, Tyler.
Sorry. Thank you, Dominic. Don't want to miss this opportunity. Again, we would not be the NAACP if we did not have this call to action. So my name is Tyler Sterling. I have the honor and privilege of serving as the NAACP National Campaigns Director with the team of Ms. Amari Fenoy and Ms. Pepper Triplett. We are your campaigns team. And often when I'm in front of you, I'm talking about metrics and data and turnout. And that is still the case, but the only metric that truly matters right now is a metric within. How much do you want to see a better future for our communities and for our people across the country? I've seen so many people in the chat saying, how can I help other states? What can we do? I want to help outside. What I need you to do right now is to pull out your phone and text the word sign up. Often, last time we had this call, there was so much in the chat. We want to see it in the chat. We're going to hit you up either way because we got your information because you signed up for this call. But what I need you to do is pull out your phone. If you have a phone that can access the internet, this is what I need you to do. Text the word sign up. That is SIGNUP. Put that all in one word. Sign up to 20707. I see a lot of people doing the chat. Do not worry. We're going to follow up with you. But what I need you to do is take it out of the chat and put it into your cell phone. We're going to have you text the word sign up to 20707. So that is pulling out your phone. That is going to how you send your text messages. That is typing into the sender. So instead of texting, your mom, your brother, your friends, text 20707. And then in the body of the message, I need you to type the word sign up. That is all one word. So we're going to say sign up in all one. You will get a link back to you to sign up for this, to sign up to volunteer with our team. There's a whole track of interest that we're seeing to see what you care about. But I'm going to focus right now, particularly on that civic engagement box. I need you to check that civic engagement box so we can follow up with you and have these calls for these mass mobilizations. That is either helping assist, as we heard, June 17th in Georgia. That is helping out with Mississippi that we've heard. That is helping out in mass mobilizations. And so those of you in the North that have been asking how to help, this is your opportunity right here. You're going to protect your community, and then we're going to have you call into some of these battleground states, both the Southern battleground and the Midwest battleground. Any district that is at risk of not protecting voting rights and not being in this space where we need at this point in time is how you are going to protect these efforts. So again, the last thing I'll say is pull out your phone, text the word sign up. It's all one word. It's the word sign up. SIGNUP to 20707, and we will see you on the next phone bank. I need all of that same energy that is in this chat at that phone bank. We need butts in seats and people making calls. Thank you very much. I'll pass it to Phaedra.
Thank you so much, Tyler. Really, really appreciate this. Look, I saw in the chat, folks are like, what can we do now? I'm going to vote in November, but what can I do now? And so this is what you can do. When you sign up, we're going to plug you into things that you can do in this moment, because the more we're talking to our neighbors now, the more comfortable they are doing it, the more they're ready to go and turn out in the fall, right? We heard Camelia talk about it. No votes left behind. That means no phone calls undialed, no doors unknocked, no neighbor untouched, right? We're going to text, we're going to call, and now is the time to do it. If we're organizing to this summer, please got all these mobilizations. I know it's going to be hard on us, but it is a gift because the turmoil that we are in is going to make us stronger. And the more that we are forced to organize and pull ourselves together, the better we are going to be. And we are going to be a force to be reckoned with come the fall. So thank you all. And I believe I'm pivoting. Do we have President Johnson yet?
I am here.
All right. So President Johnson, will you please provide closing remarks?
Right. Thank you, Phaedra, Dom, Tyler, the entire team that in our field and membership. I want to additionally thank all of our state conference presidents. I heard President Jefferson as he was talking about Arkansas. I truly appreciate President Sweetlove because within 48 hours of the Supreme Court decision, she packed out a church in Memphis. They organized and they were ready. So when the Tennessee legislative body convened, Legislative Black Caucus members had all the right talking points. They understood the challenge and they followed through. I want to thank the state conference president of Virginia and Gayleen, because what they did in the state of Virginia was truly ascertain the will of voters in that ballot initiative in a way in which no other state had been able to do from a very Black perspective. And despite the Supreme Court's decision, which we believe was bad law, they were able to ascertain the will of voters. As we turn the corner to Louisiana, President McCallahan is absolutely crucial. We turn out to vote on Saturday so that we could step up the pressure. But more importantly, we lean into the recall petition so that we can have a clear voice that if a governor betray the Constitution, the will of voters and the Black communities, there is a price to pay. To my friend in Alabama, much work to do. And let's continue to build on that work as we turn to Saturday with the march in Alabama, to our strong membership in Florida, who was eager to jump out front to file the lawsuit. Unfortunately, we could not be the lead named plaintiff, although we helped build the groundwork. We couldn't do it because of partisanship, but your fight, your ongoing determination to ensure that the drawing of political boundary lines is both equitable and reflect the needs and interests of the Black community. Redistricting is at the center of this conversation. Gary Bledsoe in Texas led the way in when this administration called the governor to redraw the lines mid-cycle, something that's unprecedented. We are in the midst of litigation in Texas because of Gary Bledsoe and his strategic understanding of what this moment means. All of this is creating our reality. NAACP, we are built for a time like this. It is absolutely crucial that we continue to press forward. Pressing forward meaning raising the consciousness of our community to understand what's at stake. Pressing forward meaning our community understanding their agency, their power, not to concede one single inch. Pressing forward meaning all of us standing united, recognizing that each state's dynamic is different in the South, because the South is where over 55% of all Black folks live. And that's why the attack is here. The attack is here because they recognize that in states like Mississippi or Louisiana or South Carolina, our percentage of voting age population is creeping up where we can determine the outcome of not only district elections, but statewide elections. The target on the South is the recognition that in states like Texas, where more Black people live in the county of Harris County, which is a city of Houston, over 3 million, that we are becoming the dog that's wagging the tail as opposed to the tail that's wagging the dog. Pressing forward is recognizing that when we build the right coalition in Florida, Latino and Blacks and others who recognize that our democracy is only as strong as our voice, and our voice needs to get stronger, that we can move the needle. We are in this space because we are actually winning despite all of the cloudiness that's in front of us. And so we shouldn't turn back. The NAACP in this moment, people are looking for our leadership. Dom and I was on a call the other night, and I couldn't do nothing but smile and listen as some of our partners talked about our ability to carry the day. Like, carrying the day for me is not about a national organization descending on a state or local community and say, this is what you should do. Carrying the day is empowering people on the state level to build and strengthen and display their muscle that determine the outcome. And nationally, we only come in to support. And I think that's what this moment calls for. The success of the civil rights movement as we know it was not because of organization that sit in a local community. It's because local communities organized and the national infrastructure supported. And what Charles and Reverend James is calling for as Mississippi is that national organization we call the NAACP come and support that was already built out. What President Sweetlove called for was for the national come and support the relationship she had already built in Tennessee to pull people together within 48 hours. What Virginia called for was the national to come and support what that was already there, not that we come and dictate. And so in this moment, we are needed more than ever. Why? Because we are everywhere all the time where we exist. In this moment, our democracy cries for us. In this moment, we will rise to the occasion because we don't have any other choice. There is no time for us versus us paradigm. What does that mean? We should not entertain any conversation talking about Black men versus Black women. There is no time to entertain any conversation talking about old versus young. There is no time to entertain any conversation about who's qualified based on somebody's credentials or not. It is all of us, for us, all the time. Now, this is going to be a hard battle, but we will win. We will win because we have proven that we can win and we're positioned to win. The Mississippi demonstration on next Wednesday is a demonstration around if we organize locally, if we coalesce across all organizations, and if we strategically place our national assets with local knowledge, that is success. The crying call now, the battle cry is when we fight, we win. And that has always been true in our tradition. That has always been the case. It has never been based on a personality. It has always been based on our ability to work together, organize together, so we can succeed together. This nation is on a tipping point. Either we're going to have a functioning democracy or we're not. And the balance of that tipping point runs through the Black community. Although we only represent 13% of the total population, we represent 100% of the moral obligation. We are a people that has gone through so much to embrace a democracy that has not embraced us. But in this moment, as we embrace this democracy, we must demand more and not allow white supremacist behavior, Supreme Court decisions, or policies to dominate the outcome, because we will prevail. So in this moment, as President Jefferson said, there will be buses coming from Arkansas. In this moment, as we stood up for Tennessee, Tennessee will come and stand up for Mississippi. In this moment, as Alabama organized for Saturday, that we understand that Georgia is net. In this moment, we have to be prepared to get into South Carolina, because as an organization, we are everywhere all the time where Black people are. So thank you for the fight that we have taken on, and thank you for the fight that we are about to initiate. We will not stop. We will not sit down. In this moment, as we've seen in history, in the backdrop of the first Reconstruction, we're not going to concede. We should not concede. We cannot succeed. So thank all of you. And I look forward to seeing you, whether it's Saturday in Montgomery, Alabama, whether it's Wednesday in Jackson, Mississippi, whether it is in a destination to be determined. Because wherever the fight is going to be engaged, we must be there. We must be there with all of our strength. So thank you to our field team for pulling this together. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you to all of our state conference presidents. Thank you to all of you who are on this line at this time. When we fight,
we win.
I know that's right. Thank you, President Johnson, and thank you to everyone who stayed on with us. As we said before, you will get a recording, you will get the slides, and we will send you the links. But we know that it is late, and so we wish you a wonderful night. Keep fighting.
So I just wanted to bring that to you. That was the all units call for the NAACP. So many powerful speakers that came direct with the message from the association that we have to organize. And so in doing that organizing, we will see you in Alabama on Saturday, 1 o'clock in front of the State House in Alabama. And for all of my friends that are watching in Georgia, we are planning. Stay tuned. The march is coming to Georgia. But first, we must go to Alabama to support our friends and family in Alabama, and then we'll be back in Georgia. But I appreciate y'all for tuning into this all units call on the live stream. I will continue to bring you this information in real time. I appreciate you for staying on this Thursday, and I want everybody to have a restful and relaxing evening and get ready to see each and every one of you in Alabama. Thank you.